Hey MVPs, usually I have an intro with a countdown and some music, but I'm not doing that this morning. I'm actually waiting for this to pop up on my other monitor before I start talking. But you guys know the deal. It's UFC 300. We're going to get after it. I'll do a whole live stream and I'll break everything down for you guys. Just give me 1 second here. It's popping up on another monitor. I have to mute it and then we can get started. I apologize for the technical difficulties. Good morning. It's Friday morning. I hope you guys are ready for a hell of a fight card. Come on now. We're getting there. Shout out to TikTok, everybody watching on TikTok and YouTube. It's what we do. I'm still waiting. This still hasn't popped up. There we go. All right, we're good. Sorry about that, guys. So, welcome to RICOKNOWS. You guys know the deal. I'm a college football expert. I'm a transfer portal expert. Oh, by the way, I'm an MMA guy. Well, how's that work? Well, I've been fighting MMA my whole life, my whole adult life. I was a mixed martial arts instructor. I was a mixed martial arts fighter for about 20 years. I did both, right? And then last year, as a teacher and instructor of martial arts, I just decided I don't want to do this. It was too hard. I was on the mat every day, and I was getting tired. I was sore. I was exhausted, and I didn't like all my students. I joined this fight house club thingy. They had 5 locations here in the local area, and I had like 300 students. And when I had the 300 students, I was like, my goodness, some of these people are here just for physical fitness. Some of these people are here just for discipline, self-discipline. It's a hobby, and I couldn't quite relate, having been a hand-to-hand combat instructor. I'm a level 4 Master Army Combatives instructor. Having been an MMA guy in the Army, teaching people how to defend themselves when their weapons run out of ammunition, and teaching themselves how to take another person's life when they close the distance with the enemy. It's a lot different from teaching somebody at a gym somewhere, and they're like, hey, I want to get better at striking. And then you put them in you're teaching them how to do hand wraps for 3 days, and you're like, what the hell am I doing? And the gym owner doesn't care. Gym owner's like, yo, bro, you're my lead instructor now. Get me more customers. I was pushing customers away, bro. I was the worst. I'm telling you right now, I was the worst. I even brought Kim to one of my sessions, and they had me teaching some kids, and I just looked at this kid and I just said, you are not it. I don't think you belong here. Where are your parents? And they had dropped, it was a female, they had dropped her off. I'm looking around going, my God, save me. This is not an athlete. This is not a killer. So thank God those days are behind me. Shout out to certain fight houses and fight clubs. And you guys know what I'm talking about. If you teach MMA or mixed martial arts, you get that one person in there that's not a fighter. But UFC 300, biggest card in the history of the UFC. Everybody on the card is a fighter. Everybody's born for it. They're here to do it, and it's an exciting thing. And I can relate completely. There are certain people with certain DNA that want to taste blood in their mouth, that don't shy away from the fight. They want to run towards the sound of battle. They hear something. You ever hear a noise in your house? How many of you guys hear a noise in your house and stay still? How many of you guys hear a noise in your house and start searching for your phone to call 911? How many of you guys get scared, right? It's fight or flight. I need you guys to know I go straight towards the sound, bro, with sincere aggression. Your girl can tell you, I yell out, what the fuck? I lose my mind. And then I go straight towards it, because I know if somebody needs to go towards that noise, it's me. That's my mindset. If somebody needs to go towards that noise, it's me. If somebody needs to start picking the fights at UFC 300, it's me. Because, oh my goodness, this is going to scare some people. Trying to pick the winners at this card is absurd. Number one, I want people to understand this. UFC Fight Night, right? We've had about 3 or 4 fight nights in a row now on the UFC. And they have been lackluster. They have been terrible. And the reason is this fight card right here sucked up all the talent. They put all the good fighters on one card and said, we're going to watch all these women fight over here. We're going to let all these scrubs fight over here on these other cards. And thank God, on some of these other cards, guys, if you don't know, shout out to me. I pick the fights. Money line. I try not to go into the method too much. I do, though. The props are there. Parlays are there. But what I really do is I pick the fights money line. And on one card, just 3 weeks ago, I went 12-0. I went 12-0. Got it right. All the MVPs are eating, bro. The MVPs are feasting when they get it right. And then the next card, I went, I think I went to 11-2, but I hit 100% of the parlays. It was insane. It was insane. Everybody's happy. And then we start going. And I've been under 500 twice in 2024. It's pretty rare, but it's happened twice now on 2 different fight cards. I was under 500. The difference between me and other people who are like cappers and things like that is I analyze the fighters and I pick the winners. But sometimes I'll tell you this is a value bet and I'll say do this instead. I pick every single fight. I don't just, my record would be amazing if I only picked 3 or 4 fights to bet on. That's not how I do it. I provide a pick on every single fight. Meaning your record could be far better, like my locks right now on 2024 are at 76%. My locks could be way better if I didn't pick all the fights or if I didn't do this or that or the other. And you could have a better record than me if you just picked less of the fights than me. Like if you really did, you picked and choose, you said, you know what, Rico, I'm not going to pick all 13. Who wants to guess who's going to win all 13? I'm just going to guess between these 3 fights. And I think the winners will be the following. And that's fine. Who cares? So this podcast and this live stream is not going to be about who the winners are. This is going to be about a couple of things, exposing our brand to people, and then I'm going to try to provide analysis on the matchups without being biased. And I need people to understand that mindset of when you break down these fighters, you can't be biased. And the reason you can't be biased is there are so many familiar names on this card. You know, like when I talk to MVPs about the fighters, it's probably the first time they've heard that fighter's name. They probably vaguely remember his name or her name within the last 4 or 5 months to their last fight. They don't really know that fighter's history and what they've been going through and what they've done. So there's some unfamiliarity there. So they just trust my assessment of the matchup. They trust my assessment of the 2 fighters. But when you get to UFC 300, everybody knows these guys. You know, you have your opinion on these fighters, and you might have fandom. You might think you know a particular fighter is going to win. But just like last week on the fight night, Melissa Mullins was in the first early prelim fight. She was the biggest favorite on the card, and she got stomped out. And the reason she lost so bad is, you know, she couldn't get a takedown. She got exhausted. She used every ounce of her muscle to try to get a takedown, and it didn't work. And then she got pieced up and she lost. And it was one of those moments where you're sitting there and you're frustrated because you're like, the biggest favorite on the card just lost. I would imagine she was in everybody's parlay. She was on everybody's DraftKings, you know, daily fantasy sports thingy. So like, what are we doing? Well, what I want to tell you guys is it is the fight game. And in the UFC, in MMA, everybody's got a chance to win. If you close that cage and you put 2 people in there, something's going to happen. Now, the probability of you getting it right versus wrong all depends on how much knowledge you have. Not necessarily. Some days they might go in there with a stomach ache. They might go in there and not see this thing coming, and you can get caught. You might have the wrong or a low fight IQ. You might have somebody in your corner telling you you're winning the rounds. You're winning the rounds. Shout out to Pat the Groomer Barry telling Rose Namajunas, keep doing it. You're doing exactly what we want you to do. And she goes out there and loses a fight to Carla Esparza by a mile because she never threw a single punch or kick. It was embarrassing. You get the wrong advice, you have the wrong fight IQ, and things can just go wrong. Lately, we've been on the wrong end of some judges. We've been on the wrong end of some penalties. Bro, we bet on a guy that bit somebody. Okay? We don't know what's going to happen in that cage. So the volatility on a UFC fight card is immense. And people need to understand that. The volatility is real. So you don't know what's going to happen. And for those of you who are so sure you know what's going to happen at UFC 300 because you know both fighters, you're wrong. You're going to be wrong. There's going to be bad judging. There's going to be an oh shit moment. There's going to be a freak accident or injury. There's going to be some horrific upset. That's going to happen on this fight card. Some of you don't believe that. Some of you guys think it's, oh, I know these fighters. I've seen them 100 times. You're going to be wrong. It's the UFC. It's going to happen. So let me just put that out there right now. Now, some people are wrong more than others. I like to think I'm pretty accurate. I'd like to think that all the MVPs, shout out to the over 3,500 members we have on Patreon. Shout out to the over 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, the over 4,000 people watching me on Twitter, all these other different people that are watching me. I want to say something to you guys. Try to beat me, bro. Try to beat me. We have a competition. We limited it to only 50 people. We have a competition. If you go to the Twitter, Rico Knows TikTok, all one word, Rico Knows TikTok, go to Twitter. On the homepage, you can get to the YouTube from there. You can get to the TikTok from there. You can get to the Patreon from there. Come an MVP. That's fine. But right here, I have it pinned for the week. Go to DraftKings DFS content. I know you guys are like, what the hell? Yep, you're going to get a lineup, and you're going to try to compete. You're not just trying to beat me. You're trying to beat everybody else in the lineup right now. It is $10 to buy in. We're paying out to the top 5. We're paying out the top 10% of the people. No, I don't get any of this cut. Okay? This is going back to you guys. You're competing with each other. Shout out to all the MVPs getting together. But it's $10 an entrant. Put your starting lineup in. Try to figure out who's going to win. If you say to yourself, well, Rico, I'm in a state that doesn't allow gambling. I bet they allow DraftKings Fantasy. That's what it's called, DraftKings Fantasy. Go get the app. Click on the link. It'll take care of everything, okay? So good luck trying to beat me. I'm excited for it. You guys can do the damn thing. If you go to the Patreon, this is the Patreon, patreon.com, Rico/RicoKnows. You go there, you will see my final UFC 300 final prediction recap. Now, I make a prediction on every single fight in here, and it's locked. You can't get to it, okay? You can't get to it. It's locked unless you're an MVP. But I did give out the main event for free. Please watch it. It's actually a link to a YouTube video. Go to the YouTube channel, watch it. It's free. Shout out to you. Ash just shook it out right now. She just lost a fight. But you're going to see a lot of these videos have locks on them. This is me giving you in-depth analysis on the matchups and a betting strategy for every single fight. Maybe how to parlay, what props to pick, how I think it's going to end up going. All that's there. Okay, you'll see locks. Every now and then, though, you'll see it free. Free in all caps. So there are free members on the Patreon. Don't get discouraged by that. Another thing, if you want to watch UFC 300 with me, join the Discord server. I provide commentary. We have a stage there for 300 seats. First 300 people that show up get to sit there and listen to me break down the fights. I'm better than Joe Rogan. I'm better than Daniel Cormier. I'm better than all them guys. I know what the fighters are trying to do. And if you guys think I'm talking crazy, you're sitting here, you're like, there's no way this guy just said he's better than Joe Rogan. Yes, man. I'm watching the fights, and I go, oh, he's attempting to do this. Why? Because I have 20 years of fighting accumulated up here where I go, oh, I know what he's trying to do. And I can explain it to you. And I can break down the moves better than anyone. I can give you the prediction better than anyone. And when I do it, so many people watching the fights go, oh, shit. I can't believe Rico just said that. Listen to what Dean Thomas just said. He said exactly what Rico said 5 minutes ago. I beat them to the punch. I'm accurate. This is not a game. This is why we have so many people. And it's a good time. You're hanging out with, you know, I think last live stream we had 1,000 people on TikTok watching. We had maybe 150 MVPs in the actual Discord server with us. But you got to be an MVP to get in. I highly recommend you become one. You win all your money back in one bet, and you'll be with us for the year if you play it smart. And by the way, against the spread in college football, we're 61%. Not a big deal. UFC, we're at 66%. I keep saying we, it's just me, bro. I keep saying we, it's just me. All right. So that being said, you can come get the free videos if you want, or you can come get the goods in the locked videos. There are free videos every now and then. It's what I do. By the way, there are futures bets here, but they're all locked. But this is free. Bo Nickal and Cody Brundage. Rico, why'd you give away a free easy pick? All right, man. If that's what you think I'm giving away, I'm not selling picks. I want to be very clear. I am providing analysis. You will have to make the decision for yourself. So we're going to go over 300 from UFC 300 fight card, one by one. I'll talk about each fight, and you guys can sit down and watch this live stream for what it is. I wish you well. Let's talk about it. So, Deiveson Figueiredo, former world champ, moving up a weight class to come fight Cody No Chin Garbrandt, okay? I'm not giving a prediction. I'm just telling you that Deiveson Figueiredo, they have him here at a minus 300. The books might alter, they might change it slightly. But when this opened or when ESPN updated their stuff, they have minus 300 and a plus 240. Sounds about right when you think about it, but let's talk about paths to victory. Figueiredo punches hard. He's a bad little dude, and he wants to go scrap. If you go look at him for his fight career, the only thing I really don't like about this man is he fought Brandon Moreno 4 times in a row. I don't understand that. If you get your claim to fame fighting the same guy over and over and over, you might just be Volkanovski. Like, I don't get it. Joseph Benavidez here. He fought 3 dudes in 7 fights. That's absurd to me. Okay, that just doesn't even make sense. But his performance against Rob Font let people know that he can handle a striker, go out there and dominate a fight, and people now believe in him at 135. That's why he's the huge favorite. Cody Garbrandt, the last time Cody Garbrandt was a beast in the cage, in the octagon, it was December 30th, 2016. Rogue One was in the movie theaters. I remember this vividly because I was talking about this the other day. Medea was in the movie theaters. I live in Augusta, Georgia. You go down to any movie theater in Augusta or Atlanta. Tyler Perry movies stay in the movie theater forever, bro. Like, a Tyler Perry movie can come out and it's going to be in the movie theater. They're going to just keep it running. And people are still watching it. I don't know what's going on. So it was December 30th, nearly New Year's Eve, and I go to the movie theaters, and there's fucking Medea says boo on Halloween or something like that. This is back in the day, bro. That's when this man was putting on the greatest performance of mankind. And when I say that is, like, people will clown on people. You ever heard this phrase before? You peaked in high school? You peaked in high school? All right, man. Well, Cody Garbrandt peaked in 2016, and he's never going to be that good again. It was a once-in-a-lifetime performance. The man was dancing in the damn octagon, touching him up, and he just had his number. Bro, I've done this before. I was on a basketball court once. I was balling everybody up. I remember I was keeping stats on a pickup game, bro. I think I had a triple-double. Shout out to Ice Cube, right? So I'm on the court killing everybody. The guy in front of me, no matter what he did, I had his number. And they told me he was good, but he couldn't stop me. Crossover, drive, it's over. I'm slapping the backboard. I want to know what you're going to do to stop me. Well, after we win the game, the next group of 5 steps on the court. This next group that stepped on the court did not play basketball occasionally. They weren't some random hoop. They were for real. All right? Shout out to Grovetown. They won the state title in basketball. These kids just started running the court. I was a non-factor. And I peaked the game before. I should have saved some buckets for these dudes. It didn't matter what I did. I tried to cross, steal the ball. Try to drive, block. Try to do I'm nothing I can do because there's levels to this shit. Well, there's nothing Cody Garbrandt can do. As soon as he won that title, he has never looked as good. He's getting run off the court. He don't belong in the octagon, getting beat the hell up. Now, the man looks good. Holy smokes. He looks like a fitness model who decided to start fighting. Dude's in shape. But my goodness, he got that glass jaw. He looks like Glass Joe. The first opponent on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, that is Cody Garbrandt. The man is slick boxing, doing all this, gets in the cage, wants to bang, pause, and then he gets rocked. And it's bad, bro. And you want to try to tell me, look, I saw him lose to Rob Font, remember? Common opponents. David Figueiredo's already beat up Rob Font recently. This man couldn't touch Rob Font. In 5 rounds, I don't think Cody Garbrandt won a single round against Rob Font. Not one round. I think he lost 50-45. Don't misquote me. I don't like to pull out bullshit stats. He lost 50-45, 50-45 on 2 cards. He lost 50-45, 50-45 on 2 cards. So Cody Garbrandt can't hang with Rob Font. Davison Figueiredo went out and pieced up Rob Font. I believe Davison Figueiredo beat Rob Font 30-27, just so we're aware. Okay? Now, I don't like to do that common opponent nonsense. I'm just going to tell you Cody Garbrandt's a slick striker, smooth as hell, but it's unfortunate his only ability is striking. I think people always talk about his wrestling being good. Bro, you're not wrestling Figueiredo. You'll get tapped out. You can't look for a Brazilian flag and then say, I don't want to wrestle with that guy. For the most part, that is a good rule of thumb. That is a good rule of thumb. I am going to go to the chat here in a second. I see Jason Parkinson. Good to see you, bro. Says, morning top. Hope all is well with you and yours, my man. All is well with me, Jason. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. Mine, I got Kim over here. She just finished her workout, I think. And I got Ash over here wondering what the hell's going on. I appreciate YouTube viewers for what they are. Shout out to the TikTokers. I don't really read their comments because they keep scrolling. I can't talk to them. But I know I got a couple of people on TikTok. It says 25. And a dude says, you never touched the backboard, bruh. Ha! Dude, there was a spider on my ceiling last night. There was a spider on the ceiling last night. Kim, proof. Say yeah. I need you to sound off.
Yes, there absolutely was. And you jumped up there and...
I jumped. Bro, I don't have 8-foot ceilings, dude.
No, you don't.
Okay? We got 10-foot ceilings in this house. I got a spider on the roof last night on the ceiling. I look up, I go, whoa, there's a spider there. We just had a rainstorm. It pushes some spiders. The HOA goes around and does extermination on the exterior of the house. But anyways, so there's a spider on my ceiling. I am sitting at my computer. I'm sitting in the lab. I'm working, content creation. I jump up out of my chair. I look, I go, there's a spider. Kim's sitting there eating. She just looks up. She goes, oh, there's a spider on the ceiling. How are you going to get it? I said, what? What do you mean, how am I going to get it? I said, I jumped, bro. I literally took one gather step, jumped up, and touched the ceiling because I was mad at her for questioning my athleticism. I'm a 240, 250-pound man of straight athleticism. What's the matter, babe?
I said, that is true. You were upset that I didn't think that you could reach.
Yeah, I was upset. And I just straight jumped up and smacked that shit. It's crazy. This man says, the chat says, haven't seen you, bro. You fell off. See, Dave, I create content every single day. Don't let TikTok gas you. Nobody fell off. They just don't push it to your For You page. Come to the profile page. Come watch all the videos. I'm on Patreon every day. I got over 500 videos over there to my paid viewers. By the way, Patreon, 500 videos. Just letting you know. 500 videos TikTok's never seen. 500 videos YouTube's never seen. But I fell off. I was on a phone call this morning with my agent. Shout out to my agent. On a phone call with my agent this morning. Recorded it because I'm getting ready to make a documentary about it. My journey, my come up. But I fell off. Was going to call my accountant later today. I already paid my first quarter taxes. Shout out to you. I bet I paid more in taxes in the first quarter than you make, buddy. I promise. I don't mean to flex on you, little man. I don't mean to flex on you. But I already made $100,000 in the first quarter, bro. I fell off. I love this fall off. Let me tell you, this fall off needs to be studied. Speaking of falling off, once he won the title, this man right here, Cody Garbrandt, goes out, loses everything, loses to a roided out TJ Dillashaw, loses to Pedro Munoz. By the way, I haven't seen Pedro Munoz beat anybody of relevance. Look, man, if you go look at Pedro Munoz, and I don't mean to be rude, but if you go look at this man, he's just known as being a good fighter. But what about him is good, bro? What about him is good? Look at this record. He's got 3 wins. 3 wins in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3 out of 10, bro. This ain't baseball. 3 out of 10 isn't good. You're not a Hall of Fame hitter. This is the UFC. Pedro Munoz, 3 out of 10, and one of those 3 is Cody Garbrandt, which is nuts. Cody Garbrandt is not him. Goes out there, loses a couple in a row there, and then he gets to Trevin Jones and Brian Kelleher. Brian Kelleher. This is why you find yourself on the opening fight of the early prelims of UFC 300. You are not championship material. You do not have a history of winning. And you got no chin. Now, the man looks like he's in great shape. I saw him working out at the Performance Institute. I've been watching all the embedded videos on UFC. It's on ESPN Plus. You can watch them. I like to see the pre-fight stuff. I'm a junkie like that, bro. I'm watching everything. If you have seen me on TikTok Live all week long this week, I've been rewatching everybody's fights. It helps me with my assessment. It helps me with my analysis. I've been rewatching everybody fight. So that's the first fight of the night. It's going to be an angry little dude moving up into the division against a slick boxer that can easily outfox you. Y'all don't know the references. I'm good. Speaking of a slick boxer that can easily outfox you, Bobby Green. Bobby Green's nice with it, bro. When Bobby Green fights, he fights like he's in a YouTube video. He fights. Have you guys ever watched YouTube videos of fights? Go Google YouTube video. Like, go to YouTube and just Google street fights or something. And you're going to see a bunch of ignorance, like a bunch of dumb fighting. You're going to see people with their hand, put them up, give me your dukes. You know, you're going to see all kinds of weird fight stances and stuff. It's weird, bro. Well, let me show you. Bobby Green, for as experienced as he is, as great of a fighter as he is, 47 career fights, Bobby Green fights with his hands down by his waist. He puts them down here and he walks up to you. Kind of like, you guys remember this as a kid? I remember I was a kid. My whole childhood was a fight, okay? I'm an identical twin, Mexican kid, growing up in an area where you just scrap, bro. And my name is Rico. I get the same first and last name. We got beef, bro. We got problems. You want to make fun of my name? We're scrapping. You want to talk shit about whoever? We're scrapping. And the worst part is people got beef with my twin brother, and then they walk up to me like they got beef with me, and I'm like, what did I do? Like, well, you called me the B word yesterday, and I'm like, no, I don't think I did. Well, it was you or your brother. I'm like, okay, well, it's probably him. But anyways, he says, well, then let him know if I see him, I'm kicking it. Oh, whoa, hold on. You got beef with my brother like that? And now we're scrapping. And let me tell you, the greatest thing in the world is when somebody walks up to you and like this. Do something. What you want to do? Where you from? Do something. With their hands out, their chin in the air, and their chest out. Bro, it's the best thing in the world. Just hit the go button, bro. Don't worry about the consequences. The consequences of not going right now are worse than the consequences of being suspended, expelled, arrested, whatever. Just go. Get your respect. I'm telling you. Shout out to Bobby Green. He shows up to the UFC like this. He shows up to the UFC with his hands down. Do something. Say something. And unfortunately for him, Jalen Turner did do something and did say something. And last fight, if you're an MVP, you get to see the replay of it. If you're an MVP, you get to see, I showed everybody on the Patreon, Jalen Turner took the life out of Bobby Green. And I mean, brutally beat him. And I forget who the ref was, but whoever the ref is, he should be fired. He's the one who should be, the ref should be punched like this. Because Bobby Green is out cold for a while, and that ref just lets him get that over on the significant strikes. Check the referee's bank account. I think he had the over on significant strikes landed. If you can bet that prop somewhere, I think he had it. Because there's just no way you should have allowed this to happen. Okay? He let the man get beat to a pulp. Shout out to Jalen Turner. He is on the card as well. He's up here somewhere. There he is. I think he's the tarantula. But anyways, Bobby Green, hands down, gets beat like you wouldn't believe. And it's unfortunate because that just happened in November. Babe, could you please hit this fan? Thank you so much. That happened in November. I also need a drink, sweetie. Okay. Thank you. Love you. Sorry, guys. We live a real life around here. Motherfuckers get thirsty and hot. All right, but back to Bobby Green. Hands down, getting beat up. Nothing else going on in his life. And he's sitting down in a dark room trying to get his brain back. And they say, oh, man, we want you to go out and fight Jim Miller. It'll be really cool to have two OGs fight each other at UFC 300. We already told you Jim Miller's going to be fighting. If you don't know Jim Miller over here, Jim Miller's going to be fighting on UFC 100, 200, and 300. But we need to give him a comparable opponent. So let's give him an old guy with a lot of, mileage on the tires. And let's see what happens in this matchup. I just don't think it's good for Bobby Green to fight this soon. Okay? But he is a fighter. He has been doing this his whole life. Who am I to say he shouldn't be fighting this soon? I'm RICOKNOWS. And I think I know. It looks bad. And then Jim Miller, on the other hand, Jim Miller is 40 years old, bro. I'm 41. The last thing I want to do is scrap. And I'm going to be sore. Even if I beat you, I'm going to be sore. Jim Miller has looked great recently. And look, I can pull up their records. Let me be clear. I can pull up their records, and if I go click on their records, they fought everyone. Both these guys. They have fought everyone, down to Clay Guida. Okay? They have fought everyone. The only difference is Jim Miller, as of late, has looked really, really good. He really has. He's looked impressive. Now, who's he really beating is the question. But he's got that dog in him. Winning 4 out of his last 5, putting the nail in Donald Cerrone's coffin. He's a good fighter, man. He's enjoyable to watch. I don't know if he's athletic enough or dangerous enough to really scare Green, but muscle memory is a hell of a drug. And once you feel that punch again, and you get hit in the brain like that, You just got beat to a pulp in November. I don't know if that's enough rest. I really don't. I'm not an expert on the brain. But shout out to Jim Miller and Mr. Green. They're both very experienced fighters. They've been around for a long time. And it'll be a good fight. It'll be a good scrap. We'll see what happens. Jessica Andrade. Whew. Now we got a female fight. I know a lot of MVPs are anti the female fights. They don't want to bet on the female fights. Give me a second here. They hate them. I hate them too, man, because I hate losing. I hate missing. But now we have Jessica Andrade, 5'1", 116 pounds of muscle, versus a 5'6", 116 Marina Rodriguez, who's very crafty. The favorite here is Andrade, but you see the significant strikes per minute versus, 6 and some odd change versus 4. Takedown averages, at least 2. Not much here in accuracy, all this other stuff. Look, listen, it's pretty simple. Jessica Andrade used to physically impose herself on opponents. And then all of a sudden, she started getting real chinny. And if you aren't familiar with UFC verbiage, chinny means somebody hits you on the chin and you crumbled like 9/11, right? You just fall. And it's unfortunate. It really is. Jessica Andrade is losing her chin. She's losing her physical advantage. And she's only 32 years old. She's actually 4 years younger than Marina Rodriguez, but nobody feels that way. When they watch it, it feels like Jessica Andrade is on the downslope of her career, and Rodriguez is a hell of a fighter. 17-3-2. She finds a way to win fights. That's the impression everybody gets when you look at it. But knocking out Mackenzie Dern is to be respected. Happened back in November. Shout out to Jessica Andrade. We all love Mackenzie Dern. She got the biggest booty in the game. Not really, but yes. And some of these losses are very respectable. They are. I'm telling you right now, Suarez is an amazing fighter. Blanchfield, an amazing fighter. This is a stylistic nightmare in a matchup for you. And Jan here is fighting for the belt on the main card. So it's not terrible, her losses, those 3, but hopefully it's not an indicator of what's going to happen to her for the next 5 or 6 years if she continues to fight. Because this is how she feeds herself. This is how she provides for her family or herself. So I would hope that if she's doing this for a profession, she has a little more longevity than 32 years old. You hate to see fighters go out on their chin and everybody says, oh, they're going to start losing. I don't see it like that, man. I hope she does well. I hope she does. That's all I'm saying. On the flip side, Marina Rodriguez, Brazilian, Thai Brazil team, right? I'm going to tell you guys, if I see you go out there and your losses are to a really strong Lemos, a really good wrestler in crazy eyes, right? Verna, and then you go out and beat the karate hottie. Like, I think you're a good fighter. I think you're good. I don't get excited about watching her fights, guys. I really don't. I like her fight IQ. But she's in bad situations. You can see it here. She's getting TKO'd in the main event. She's just in bad situations. I don't know if she's strong enough to handle these Brazilian muscle-bound freaks. I don't know. I hope so. A lot of people are cheering for her. A lot of people pulling her. By the way, she is an underdog that people are picking. That's real. Speaking of an underdog that people are picking, nobody's picking Moicano to win this fight. Jalen Turner, the Tarantula, 14-7 in his career, minus 245 favorite. It feels like an essential lock versus Renato Moicano at plus 200. A couple things I want to say about this matchup, and people need to understand this. Jalen Turner, number one, hits very hard. The way he throws, the velocity at which he throws, when you go back and watch his fights, it's so impressive. He's just raining punches and beating people up. Significant strikes are real. They call him the dude can do things on the ground. He's very competent on the ground. He is not Moicano on the mat. Like, he just shouldn't be grappling with Moicano. And I don't think he needs to. I think he's going to just strike and go out there and dominate and win the fight, right? That's what people say. Listen to me. Moicano is going up in weight. Moicano's going to 55. He used to be a 45er. He no longer wants to drain himself. He wants to be full of energy, and now he's at 55, and he feels really good. When you put on that extra 10 pounds, not only do you get a chin and become more durable, you have more energy, you have a bigger gas tank, and you feel invincible with that extra 10 pounds. On the flip side, Jalen Turner's 6'3", 155. He's a huge lightweight. The fact that he's getting down to 155, he's missed weight before. If he was so good, the way people talk about him, then why the hell is he 14-7? He missed weight against Garbrandt by 3 pounds. No, against Hooker by 3 pounds. Missed weight by 3 pounds. Everybody's judging him on that beating he gave to Green. And it was a bad one. Like I just told you, it's horrific. If you got ESPN Plus, just right-click over here, go watch it. I can't show it to you right now because I don't want a copyright violation. But who has he really beaten in the UFC? If you go back and look, who are these names? Josh? He's got a very hittable face. Everybody go, well, Josh is tough. Rico, yeah, you know why we know he's tough? Because he's been beaten up. Rest of these don't impress me. They really don't. Malarkey's a decent win. Riddle, I believe Hoinato just beat Riddle. If I remember correctly, yeah, he subbed him. So I just want to know who he's beaten. Because when he gets to the upper echelon, and I'm not saying Moicano's the upper echelon, I just want to know the justification for the 200, for the minus 235. I just don't see it anywhere on here, if I'm being real. Now, Moicano has some problems at 145. He was drained, lost to Aldo, lost to Jung, right? Losing to Fiziev. Now, I didn't think he lost his fight to Fiziev. This was a very early stoppage. It was bull. It was baloney. But he's beaten Jay Herbert. Hey, Alexander Hernandez pretty good. He subbed him. Yes, he lost to the champ, former champ. But you get down here. Look, man, if you can take a punch from Drew Dober, if you can take a beating from Drew Dober, you might be able to stay in there with Turner. That's all I'm saying. It just feels crazy to me. This man is sub Cub Swanson, bro. This man has beat Calvin Kattar. He's on the card. And a lot of you guys are picking Kattar. I think he's fighting Aljamain Sterling, a former world champion. A lot of you guys are picking Kattar. It's crazy to me. I don't think this guy's a fish by any means. To see him at plus 200 is embarrassing. I think it's disrespectful to the fight game. Moicano going up in weight should be healthy, and we'll see what happens. But obviously, they're expecting Jalen Turner to burn right through him, beat the hell out of him, and more power to you. If that's how you go down, it's there. Sodik Yousef versus Diego Lopez. Now, Diego Lopez has a very hittable face. That's all I wanted. I just want to get that out right off the rip. Right off rip! He's got a hittable face, okay? 23-6. He's 5'11", 145. Like I said, this guy is a jiu-jitsu coach. He coaches at Lobo Gym, I believe. Let me get that right. Yeah, Lobo Gym and MMA in Mexico. He teaches MMA. He teaches jiu-jitsu, excuse me. He's a jiu-jitsu coach. And when you find guys like that, the very high Q in jiu-jitsu, a lot of people get really impressed with what they do on their back. It's kind of like Charles Oliveira, the way you see a guy on his back and he's not out of the fight. But for whatever reason, he can't sweep. He can't stand up. He can't wizard to get back to his feet. He's just struggling to get it done. But he looks good and he sounds good, and I believe him. But this guy should be a better fighter than what he is. He should. He's got work to do. His biggest claim to fame is that he took a fight on short notice against Evolov here, and he looked good in a loss. He looked so good in a loss. That's his claim to fame. Yes, he beat Pat Sabatini in a TKO, but I'm talking about it right now. The biggest claim to fame to Diego Lopez is, besides being a jiu-jitsu coach to a bunch of Mexican fighters, is this man looked good in a loss. That's his claim to fame. On the flip side, Sodiq Yousef lost to Edson Barboza. You know, you go 5 rounds, you're on the main card. He learned that he cannot beat Edson Barboza. That lets you know his ceiling. I'm not too excited about it, but I will say this: at least his biggest claim to fame is a win and not a loss. That win against Alex Bruce Lee Caceres was actually pretty impressive, beating Caceres in every single round. He looked good, beating Feely. He looks good at times. I think he's a good fighter. He can hit hard. This fight, by the way, for whatever reason, is not of the caliber of the vast majority of the fights on UFC 300. Like, this fight is a prelim fight. This fight, there's no part of this fight that says, oh yeah, this should be on the main card. Like, nothing. This is straight up 2 prospects, in my assessment. 2 guys, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever. I'm not excited for that fight beyond, you know, I know that some of these guys are excited because If you didn't hear, Dana White increased the fight bonus to $300,000, right? $300,000 for the fight bonus, meaning fight of the night, performance of the night winners will be getting $300,000 each. Guys, that's a significant amount of money for some of these guys. They don't make $300,000 in a year on some of the early prelim guys, so they have a chance to go out there and do it. Now you're like, Rico, all these fighters are former champs. They made a lot of money. Nah, man. If you look at it, when you lose, you get half the purse. You just get the appearance fee. The winner gets the winner's rate. So you might be on an 80-160. You got 80. He got 160. And you might get 3 fights in a year at 80. And got to split after taxes and give your gym 10%, pay your nutritionist, pay your chef. Like you're just in trouble, bro. It's not easy. This is why they're teaching classes at gyms. This is why they concatenate and combine to be a part of a gym. Shout out to the UFC. They still don't have a union. And they need a fighters union, but I know Dana White's not with that shit. I know the Fertitta brothers weren't with it because they're going to fight for fair wages. They're going to fight for a particular share of the purse. I want you guys to think about the NFL Players Association. The NFL Players Association has advocated for 48.5% of the revenue. When you hear about the salary cap, that is 48.5% of the revenue divided by 30. Right? That's what people need to understand is there are metrics involved to make sure it's fair. And in the NBA, it's an even 50-50%. So the NFL got to 48.5%. The owners get 52.5%. The only difference is that 48.5% divided by the teams comes out to let's just say it comes out to $300 million. Now you have $300 million that you need to split 53 ways. Whereas with the owners, they're getting about 300 and change, and it's just all to one person, essentially. They do have to pay the coaching staff. But I'm saying all those metrics to let you know that in the UFC, there's no such thing. These fighters do not make as much money as some people anticipate and envision. They don't. Yes, the upper echelon do. The world champions do. There's not a world champion in the world hurting. There's not a UFC veteran hurting. But if you're on the prelim card on some of these fight nights, you're getting 24 to show up, or you're getting 12 to show up, 24 to win. You imagine getting $24,000 for a fight, and that's the biggest payday of your life, and you only get one of those every 4 months after taxes, after conversion rates because you're from a foreign country, after paying out your agent and anybody else. Like it's nuts. It's nuts how little money they actually make until you become a star. I studied this immensely because at one point in my life, I wanted to be a professional MMA fighter. And I remember I was an all-Army fighter. We were looking at certain guys making it in the UFC, certain guys making it as a fighter. Brandon Sales, who's the guy who won the house, won the Ultimate Fighter, he got a 6-figure deal. There were certain fighters from the military that were going to make it in the UFC. And when I did the math, I was like, man, those guys are making $8,000 a month to get the hell beat out of them on a prelim fight. Like, they're not even winning. They're getting $8,000 a month getting beat up. Bro, I was an E8 in the Army making over $8,000 a month. And I never got beat up once. I just stopped fighting. I stopped fighting in tournaments, stopped fighting in the octagon, and just said, yo, I'm just going to teach fighting. And now I don't get beat up. Oh, how much am I making? Oh, I'm making 6 figures. I'm making $8,800 a month. I'm making more than a UFC fighter on a prelim card. And nowadays, I do this. I would never want to fight. The UFC is a cesspool of corruption, and it all started with the Fertitta brothers not wanting to pay the fighters what they're worth. For many, many years, the main event was never more than $200,000. I can remember Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz made $265 for being the main event on a card. He got $265. It was so much money to him, he literally retired the next day. Like, he quit fighting and started smoking weed. And he thought he made it. He thought that was it. And he went. You remember his last fight where he went out there and didn't do anything? He was just like, punched a few times, was out of shape. Didn't care. He was getting a bigger paycheck than he'd ever gotten in his life. Because after a while, the fighters started talking. Hey, man, we want a bigger cut. And once they started doing these partnerships with Reebok and these partnerships with Viper or whoever the hell it was, when they started getting all their shorts and all their stuff, now they started getting appearance fees, press conference fees, And now they're starting to get the sponsorship stuff, and that was to placate them and pay the veterans more than this is all a Band-Aid. None of this is real. None of this is solving the issue. They don't have an association, and you can't have one when you have fighters from all over the world. You can't have one when the $1 million maker doesn't give a shit about the prelim fighter. He doesn't want to give you any cut of his share. Like if we were to do shared revenue and give people certain percentages of the fight, or at least of the gate and the pay-per-view payout, only certain fighters get that. Only certain fighters get to claim to be the draw. Conor McGregor's, Michael Chandler's, right? The world champs. But what about that guy on the prelims? You don't want to give him any money. You don't want to give him any men. And it's a fine line. Because in the NFL, they're doing it. There's rookie minimum contracts. But in the NFL, they had a players association. As soon as they saw rookies getting paid more than veterans, they said, we need to stop this. And that's why the earnings for draft picks is capped. The earnings for draft picks is capped. There's no negotiation. You don't get an agent in the NFL to help you make more money when you get drafted. The only thing your agent can do is negotiate how you're going to get your money, whether it be all in a signing bonus or it gets separated and cut up for the next 5 or 6 years. It's the only thing they can do. They can't say, yeah, we're gonna hold out till we get more money. There's no such thing. There's an NFL Players Association that capped it. Shout out to Reggie Bush and Bradford, who made this happen because of, underperformance with huge contracts. Jamarcus Russell, $35 million. That ain't happening anymore. $35 million guaranteed before you ever took a snap. Now you show up to practice 40 pounds overweight and don't give a shit. That's not happening anymore. So they did that. They fixed it, and they capped all the rookies for making too much money, and this enabled them to raise the veteran minimum. The veteran minimum was now raised. So now the lowest you can pay a veteran is, $1 million versus the league min at the time, I can remember this, was like $455. So now you got rookies signing for $455 at the league min, but if you want a guy that's got over 4 years experience, you got to pay $1 million. Well, teams just started going, well, who's our third string tight end? Well, we don't want to pay our third string tight end $1 million. Cut him. We'll just sign one of these rookies for $455. We'll close the gap. So they had to go out and create some veteran type of rule, so the veterans don't count $1 million against the cap. They count the league min against the cap, because veterans were getting cut everywhere. There's a whole lot to this. I don't want to get into it all because I'm going to stay on UFC. But what I want to tell you guys is the UFC does not advocate for these prelim fighters to make as much money as anyone else. It's not shared revenue. And they don't have a fighters association, and they need one. They need a union bad. Their revenue would go through the roof. This is why Dana White can go and change the bonuses to $300,000 like it's nothing. He's only been giving out $50,000 bonuses for a while, and that's a lot of money. $50,000 bonuses for a while, and then out of nowhere he can just go, yeah, let's make it $300,000. You know why? Because there's no regulation limiting or ensuring they get a certain percentage of the cut. He's making a shit ton of money on UFC 300. I paid for the card a week ago. I got the early bird special. They've already made their money. Let's talk about the next fight. Sorry for the rant. Let me go to chat real quick. What's good, Rico? Spreading positivity. Shout out to Corey Flores. Shout out to YouTube. I appreciate you guys. And TikTok, Core Baseball says this card is awesome. Talk about Holloway. I will get to him. I'm doing every single fight. Carolina Logic says, I got Turner in this one. There you go. Thoughts on Venom Page? I talked about Venom Page when he was fighting on the card, and I picked Venom Page to win his fight. So shout out to him. I think, I wish he was in his prime when he got to the UFC and not over the hill when he got there. But Venom Page is still a very unique talent, very unique athlete, and the way he strikes and the angles he takes, he's enjoyable to watch. But it's always one of those things. I look at Michael Chandler the same way. I think of these very enjoyable strikers who they transition well, they project well, they do all those things well, and then they translate to the UFC and fandom. I just wish we saw them in their prime against the best in the world. I watched these guys fight. Obviously, I'm an MMA guy. I watched Michael Venom Page his entire career. I've watched Michael Chandler his whole career. It was fun to watch. It's just sometimes the UFC doesn't get them till later. Speak of the devil. We're about to get to Kayla Harrison, getting her, a little later in life. Become an MVP. Search Rico Knows on Patreon and YouTube. Mala suerte. Thank you so much. What's up, Rico? What's up? Bro, why'd you say that messed up stuff on Caitlin Clark video? Not C4. You don't understand sarcasm and content creation. I made a video mocking Iowa fans, right? I made a video mocking Iowa fans, and you guys took that as literal. I want you to envision, maybe you're watching Mississippi Burning on TV, and you see one of the actors come out with a hood on, and he drops the N-word, and he wants to, and in the movie, probably does something horrific to a black man. Do you think that actor is racist by any means? Do you think that actor is a terrible person, or was he just playing a role, right? So when I create a video and I say, what I don't even know, he said that junk I said about Caitlin Clark, all I said was she's great, greatness or something like that. When I do something like that, that is me mocking Iowa fans. You guys could have very easily watched that video and said, oh, yep, he's right. This is how Iowa fans act. Instead, you thought I was an Iowa fan. But what I want to ask you to do is go on TikTok, search RICOKNOWS and Iowa, and then find all my videos about Caitlin Clark from a year ago when I told you she's not very good, or I don't think she's the greatest of all time, and I'm not a big fan of Iowa basketball. But instead, you guys don't do your research and try to learn about the individual making the content. You just watch the video and like ignorantly thought, oh, this is a fact, this is real. And it's sarcasm, satire. It's unfortunate. You know, I watch Dave Chappelle skits all day long. I don't think a single one of those characters he plays in any of his skits is Dave Chappelle. It's the same concept. Learn content creation. It's cool. Yeah, shout out to Reed Pendleton. He says, love the video, love the Vol video. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Thank you so much, Reed. Hey, Reed, I want to tell you guys something. I want to get off topic here. He's talking about the Vol video, Virginia University of Lynchburg. Pretty terrible situation there with their head coach. Their head coach and athletic director, you know, he actually changed his bio after I made that video. His bio has been updated and changed. There's more information. He's trying to prove his validity. So there's that. I also have an interview recorded and saved with the basketball coach, or the former basketball coach. I don't want to say his name. He asked me not to use his name, but we did an hour-long interview about his interactions with that particular athletic director and coach. And the situation going on at Virginia University of Lynchburg is unfortunate. It's a terrible situation, but let me stay focused on UFC 300. Thank you for thinking I'm awesome. I appreciate you, Wicked. Let's get back to these fight cards. We're looking at Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Holm, Kayla Harrison. If you don't know who Kayla Harrison is, she's making her UFC debut, the only debut on the entire UFC 300 card, which is pretty rare. There's no other debut on the card. It's her, and she's the favorite by a mile. If she looks like a tank, it's because she is, okay? She's a minus 450 favorite. They expect her to go through this fight, win this fight, end this fight. It's not going the distance, they tell you. And she's 16-1. If you don't know, she's a two-time gold medalist in the Olympics. Shout out to Rio de Janeiro, I believe. And maybe London? What was it? Had to be London and Rio de Janeiro, if I remember correctly. And she's a world champ in judo. And judo practitioners are called judokos, blah, 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 blah. She's a great judo fighter. She's much better than Ronda Rousey in judo. I think Kayla Harrison is an absolute monster. She's 33 years old, most accomplished judo, blah, blah, blah. I don't like her. I watch her fights. She's extremely boring, guys. I've watched the PFL for a while now. And if you go watch her fights in the PFL, she's just in the PFL, former World Series of Fighting, now Professional Fighters League. If you don't know what the PFL is, it'll be on tonight. There's PFL fights tonight. It'll be on ESPN. And the PFL is about a league. Their whole premise is we're going to do fighting by the season like a league, like any other league, like the NFL or NBA, baseball. They have a league of fighting. And she wins the league every year, and they pay out like $1 million to the winner. So she's really wealthy. She's got her money, and she's done her fights. Now, she beat the hell out of Larissa Pacheco down here. I say beat the hell out of her. She just kind of goes in there and wrestles you down, throws you, does a judo hip toss throw, whatever. She's really good in the clinch. She's going to win that exchange. She's very strong. But if you watched her against Pacheco the second time, she got dominated. She looked lethargic. She looked terrible. And some people will be like, well, she lost because she was bored of the PFL. She wanted to just get out of her contract and go somewhere else. And then she beat Aspen Ladd. Aspen Ladd, former UFC fighter, not very good. Look, man, most of these girls have never fought in the UFC. Most of these girls are not UFC caliber, and she's beaten some people. I will say this, though. November, it took a year for her to get over that loss. A year later, she's in the championships, and she's fighting Aspen Ladd at 155 pounds. December, January, February, March, April. 5 months later, she's now fighting at 135, 20 pounds even lighter. Look, in the Olympics, she fought at 170, or she competed at 170. So you go from 170 to 155 to 135. What the hell's going on? That's crazy. That's crazy. So we'll see if she makes weight. We'll see if she's competitive. If she's athletic, they expect her to be a tank and walk right through old-ass Holly Holm. I hate Holly Holm, bro. Just letting you know, I hate her. I shouldn't say that. Hate's a strong word. I find her very boring. Let me tell you the thing that I got to deal with when I watch Holly Holm fight. It is exhaustion. Typically, Holly Holm is the main event for a fight because she's always on the fight card. She's either the co-main event or the main event, meaning her fights are 5-rounders. You see a bunch of 5-rounders in here. That means she's fighting at 2 a.m. She's fighting at midnight on the East Coast. And I'm just trying to stay awake, watch this girl fight. I can't stand it, bro. I'm tired of the UFC re-signing her. I don't think that should happen. Everything she does goes to decision, which is so remarkable to me. If you go read the over-under rounds on the betting, if you go pull up the sports book for the over-under for rounds for this fight, they expect her to lose and not go the distance. She did lose here. This is no contest. She did get submitted here. But, man, I think it's so hard to say this. Holly Holm was once a great kickboxer. And she's gotten away from her kickboxing. She's lost her athleticism. And now she does this old school way of fighting. You guys ever heard of somebody say a 40-year-old man's got grip strength? What is it? 40-year-old strength. Like, don't fight a guy in his 40s. He's got real strength. He can like grab you and he can't let you go. He's just a really strong person. Like, I'm telling you, man, a 40-year-old dude fighting a 20-year-old, it's just a different world. Right? 20-year-olds are very athletic, fast, move, explosive. A 40-year-old dude, if he gets a hold of you, he will snap. He's got muscle memory for 20 years, bro. It's grown man muscles, right? But at some point, you fall off that scale. At some point, you're not that strong anymore. At some point, you lose it, and that's why they are no longer, it's called dad strength. But at some point, you're no longer that elite athlete. And you're just kind of like, you're that dangerous athlete. You're that dude who's like, yeah, man. Toby Keith said it, right? Shout out to the late, great Toby Keith. I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. Right? I can do something extremely athletic. I jumped up, touched a 10-foot ceiling yesterday in front of my girl. No stretching, no preparation. I've been sitting here all day. I just knew I could do it. But do I want to go run on a court? No, I'll be sore for 3 days. I don't want to do this. I think Holly Holm fights like an old person. I think Holly Holm fights like she's lost all her athletic skill. She goes up against the cage. She does these clinch positions where she's fighting for underhooks. And if you guys don't know, that is probably the most exhausting part outside of wrestling scrambles. Clinch position against the cage, fighting for underhooks, is utterly exhausting. If you ever were to go to a gym and just say, we're going to get in a 50-50 and we're going to pummel for underhooks and we're going to fight competitively for underhooks, and you try to do that for 5 minutes, which is what happens in some of these rounds, you have zero chance of hitting a bag when you're done. You have zero chance of beating anybody in anything when you're done. You can't beat yourself. All right, shout out to teenagers. I'm just letting you know that you will be exhausted. And that's her claim, like that's her path to victory nowadays. Is she tries to do a clinch and then I don't know what she's doing from there. She lost her spark and her athleticism. That being said, Holly Holm was a world champion. She at some point was fighting the best in the world. And I got to tell you, Kayla Harrison's never done that type of thing in the UFC. She's done it in judo, but she's never done it in the UFC. I think it's very disrespectful to Holly Holm to make her a plus 325 favorite. Probably is accurate. I know a lot of people are going with Kayla Harrison, and they're betting her money line. So they're actually parlaying her with other things to make it profitable. I don't agree with anything 3 legs or above. Not on this card. I don't think you should do that. I think you can do pairs of people. I think you can probably get 2 guesses right. Everything's a coin flip around here. There's very few bona fide locks on this card. The dogs all have a chance. Like even this dog, Holly Holm, she's a dog. She's got a chance to win this fight. If we get past the first round, if Kayla Harrison was so dangerous and such a monster, then why the hell isn't she just tapping out everybody? Why the hell isn't she just winning against everybody? And how drained is she going to be at 135? Right? So I think it's just something to be careful with. Shout out to Holly Holm. She is a shell of herself. She's not this. I'm tired of seeing her on the marquee, so I'm just glad she's not on the poster. She's also not a looker. We like some of these girls with some bass. She ain't a looker. All right, let me go back to the chat now. Self-Inflicted Gaming says, Holly doesn't look as strong as she used to. Oh, well, like I said, man, you got a little flabby. Let me tell you guys something, man. I'm 41. I work out. I don't look like I did when I was 32. Holly Holm was knocking out Ronda Rousey back in 2016, 2015, something like that. What are we doing? You don't look like that no more. Shout out to my girl. She looks good. What up, Kimber? I like the outfit. I like you in that color, girl. You got to compliment your girl at least once a day, y'all. Pro tip to all you guys watching right now. It's Prod, by the way. Don't know why it put me on my other account. Hey, shout out to Prod. Prod Self's been with me for a long time. If you guys don't know, Prod's an MVP. Prod's been on the channel since last year, and it was really cool. Back last year, I didn't have MVPs. I didn't even have MVPs. I was still talking on YouTube and TikTok and just having a good time hanging out with dudes. And people just kind of gravitated towards me and just hung out with me in live streams. And I would do these live streams on YouTube for the UFC fights. I don't do them anymore. I do them on the Discord server with the MVPs now because we talk about our bets. And I can't just publicly talk about our bets because then that would be disrespectful to my MVPs. So I was live streaming the fights on YouTube last year. And I can remember I got like 19 fights in a row with my predictions. And Prod just said to me, Rico, you're picking UFC fights at like 90%, bro. I said, no way. He goes, dude, it's something crazy. And I wasn't keeping track of the stats. I was just talking. I'd be like, hey, I think so-and-so's going to win this next fight. Let's watch it, you know? And then we'd watch it, and I'd be like, yeah, got it right again. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I was making football predictions, and I was making a bunch of football predictions and claims, and everybody was telling me, Rico doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then the football season started. And everything I said just went bang, 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 true. And my life changed forever. I'll never forget that. Last April was the first time I made money on social media. I made approximately $1,300 in a month. And I had a 6-figure job. And the $1,300 was a precursor to what I thought was possible. And I can remember, so you're in April, I remember putting in my 2 weeks notice, saying I'm going to retire from the military. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out of here. I had a contractor job for 6 figures, and I said, I don't think I need to do this. I think I can be a social media content creator, and I think I can create a Patreon or a YouTube or something. And I started YouTube, and I started becoming lucrative on YouTube. I started monetizing, and I started doing this thing. And shout out to Prod, because he was a part of the journey from the very beginning. And he actually gave me the idea to do the UFC in the off season, which is why we're here now. And it's pretty damn cool. Because, you know, who's going to trust somebody who tells you, oh, I know how to pick UFC fights? Nobody's going to listen to you. And then you start picking them and you're at a 70% clip, 75% clip, 68% clip. Like you start looking at it, you're like, holy shit, hold up. And that's a pretty neat feeling to see it grow organically. Have a day one with me like Prod, a dude who's now my senior admin on my Discord server. And we have like 4 or 5 admins, but he's the senior one. And it's just nice to organically come up with a following, right? Me and my fans, we got history. So when a new kid shows up on TikTok and like I get messages all the time, well, what are your credentials, or who are you? Or it's like you're not entitled to an answer, man. We've been on this journey for a while. We've been on this motion for a minute, and I just want to tell any of you guys out there that want to be content creators and start this. I made $1,300 in April, and it wasn't enough to pay my bills, but it was enough to tell me I'm going to be somebody. And I can remember making $30,000 in September. So immediately changed my pay scale, immediately changed my life and my trajectory. And now here I am, my first quarter, I got to have meetings with accountants. My whole life has changed. And all it took was some people to believe in me. It obviously takes talent, and it takes the ability to perform and deliver your content. But I'm making videos every single day. The work ethic is unmatched and unrivaled. A lot of you guys will see me on live streams, and you'll be like, man, what is Rico doing? I'm on TikTok live streams all the time. And people will come in here and go, oh, he's only got 5 people watching him. He's only got 6 people watching him. It's like, how many people do you have watching you at work? Don't you ever get concerned with it. I can remember doing live streams about college football last offseason every single day and only 30 people watching. The content was great. The information I'm giving was superior. We're going to make a lot of money. Only 30 people were watching. I didn't care. I kept driving. And then once the season started and I started getting all my predictions right and I was accurate as a mother flipper, I can remember it then went from 30 people to, I'd go to bed and wake up. Every live stream had over 2,000 views. And I said, oh my God, I made it. I did it. I did what I wanted to do. Let's keep growing. Till this morning, before I got on this live stream, I was on a phone call with my agent, strategizing our move for the next year. I have a phone call I need to make when I'm done with this with my accountant. Like, life has changed, and it's all because you have self-belief in yourself. You don't let the people get you down. There's 14-year-old haters on TikTok right now that are saying you don't know and blah, blah, blah. They don't pay you, bro. Views don't pay you, right? A following enabled this. A movement. Rico knows that the MVPs are what make my life possible, right? Every time I take Kim out to eat, I sit her down and I tell her, babe, the haters paid for this steak. Don't I tell you, babe? I say that all the time. The haters paid for this. And what I'm referring to is I get enough money to feed myself off the haters, but my whole lifestyle is something different. Right? So shout out to you, Prod. Good to see you, bro. I didn't know you were here in the chat. I appreciate you watching. Shout out to everybody on TikTok. I'm going to stay on path and on topic here. Let's get back to the UFC 300 fight card. Calvin Kattar. I have no idea why he's on this card. I have no idea why anybody believes in him. More power to you, but Calvin Kattar, coming off an injury, a 2-year layoff, is a decent striker. This was not a TKO KO. His knee just buckled. It's right here in the replay. His knee just buckled at the end of the second round, and he was done. His claim to fame is beating Dan Ige. Cool story, bro. You beat Dan Ige, dominated him for 5 rounds, and then you went up against Max Holloway. It didn't work out, and I'm not sure what we're doing here, but he's fighting Aljamain Sterling. Sterling, former world champ, an immense wrestler. I say immense wrestler because I actually don't think he's that great at takedowns. If you look at his takedown accuracy. It's freaking 24%. The only problem is shoot or shoot, bro. Shoot or shoot. Aljamain Sterling is that dude at the nightclub asking every girl to dance. It don't matter how many people say no. He's going to find one. Okay? He's going to find one. He's going to start dancing. He's going to cut it up on the rug. Like, he's going to do his thing. Aljamain Sterling, shoot or shoot, bro. He ain't going home empty-handed. He's going to keep asking everyone to dance. That's how he approaches takedowns. He just shoots them. He shoots them everywhere. He shoots them out of desperation. He shoots them when he's frustrated. He shoots them when he's bored. It don't matter. But he has the motor. He has the gas. He's going up in weight, so he's going up to 145. I believe that's going to help his cardio immensely. This isn't a 5-round fight, which he's used to fighting. This is a 3-round fight. And he's going to go out there and get a guy who's got ring rust. Dude hasn't fought in 2 years. You're a striker. You're supposed to be calibrated. I think he's going to miss. Sterling's going to change levels, get a takedown, and get on your back. Sterling is annoying. I used to call him snakes, bro. A boa constrictor. Dude wants to just get around you, just wrap around you, stay on you, and he ain't going nowheres, eh? That's what he does. That's how he fights. Now, the thought process is he can't strike. He just got knocked out by Sugar Shane. Sugar, O'Malley. I call him Sugar Shane because Shane Mosley. No, anybody know? Okay, you don't get my references. It's okay. But he just got knocked out by Sugar O'Malley. O'Malley said, get to packing, get to stepping. You don't want to fight Merab anyways. Neither do I. So leave the division, get out of here. Shout out to Sterling. Going up in weight class. Hopefully he can get it together. That man is high energy. And then Calvin Kattar, like I said, man, coming off of an injury, I don't get it. More power to you. A lot of people are on Kattar. Some people are worried about Sterling. Cool story. Yuri Prochazka. I hope I'm saying it right. Dude, I'm terrible with names. Yuri Prochazka. Did I just close the main card view? I did. Let me go to Fight Center. Give me a second, y'all. I did that by accident. Yuri Prochazka it's the premier prelim. Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. How do you say it, bro? First off, stop spelling Alexander like that. That looks ridiculous. But he's 14-3. These are huge men. 6'3", 6'4". Let's talk about Yuri first. Yuri's last fight was against the champ, Alex Pereira. And if you go back and watch that fight, Yuri is giving him the business. Now, Pereira's kicking his lead leg, and Yuri doesn't check it once. Yuri just keeps getting kicked on the lead leg. But he's crazy enough to say, I'm going to go close the distance. Let's figure it out. And he starts rocking Pereira. Pereira looks lost, exhausted. Nothing's going right, and then he gets caught. I think it was an early stoppage. I don't like some of these refs. They're convinced it was the right stoppage. Dude, don't make yourself part of the fight. Let these guys go out on their shield, especially somebody like Yuri, who's a straight fighter, right? A savage. Yuri's weird. If you've never seen him fight, he fights from different angles. He thinks he's a Viking. I think he lives out in the hills. He lives next to those dudes with those helmets. Did you know Vikings didn't even wear horn helmets? They didn't. That's just something recent. Like, that's not a real thing. But anyways, Yuri's got some real wins here. I'm going to tell you, Rakic, I think Rakic is coming off of an injury. If I remember correctly, yeah, he blew his knee out, just like the other guy. He blew his knee out against Jan. His greatest win is against this right here, Anthony Smith. Like, this is the best win he's got. I'm not impressed with Rakic, but you can be. Rakic is a good fighter, good IQ. He will win rounds. He knows how to win rounds. If he's in a dominant body position, he's not going to give it up. Position before submission, he will not give up his dominant body position. And I mean, that could be 3/4. Like, that could be half guard. That could be side control. He's just going to sit there and win the round that way. I know Vegas judges do not like anybody getting a takedown with no damage. They don't even give you the round. Nowadays, you get a takedown and you do no damage, you don't even win the round. Trust me, we've been watching a lot of fights. So Alexander Rakic, he's a good fighter, smart fighter, going up against a monster of a man in Yuri. Pick who you want to pick. Believe what you want to believe. It's a pick 'em. Yuri was the underdog. You were getting positive money on him earlier in the week. Now it's minus. So something to think about, okay? Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal, former All-American, former amazing wrestler. I think he's a 3-time national champion wrestler. Decided to start fighting. The man knows jiu-jitsu fairly well. You can see him down here. He's doing, is that an armbar, triangle choke? What's he doing? Yeah, he's doing something. It's a triangle. But he's not pulling down on the head. He's doing some nonsense. It's cool. The man tapped out. More power to you. I'm going to tell you, Bo Nickal is everybody's poster child of what you want to be. These odds are wrong. I was checking the sports book yesterday. They had Bo Nickal at minus 3,500. Do you guys understand what that means? Maybe you're not gamblers. Maybe I need to break it down for you guys. Minus 3,500 means you have to bet $3,500 to win 100. That's how great Bo Nickal is. You would have to bet $35,000 to win 1,000. Now, some people will tell you it's a great investment. When you see favorites like this, Amanda Nunes was favorites like this. I remember her being a huge favorite at one point. But when you see a favorite like this, what you go do is you go put $500,000 on the person. And then you make it easy 20 grand. Is it worth it? Hell no. Is it worth the risk? I don't know. That's on you. But that's what people do. Some professional gamblers out there will see certain matchups and go, is this a can't miss? It's a can't miss, sir. All right, I'm going to put everything on it. I have professional gamblers in my DMs on Twitter. They reach out to me on Twitter. Rico, can you give me something that will not miss 100%? I'm going to go heavy. I'm thinking about it. And they make about 3 or 4 bets a year. And that's it. They make about 3 or 4 bets a year. They pick their spots. They pick them wisely, and they go win big. Congratulations to them. I don't have the courage to do that. I think this is highly disrespectful to Cody Brundage. You are fighting another person, like a human being. You are not fighting a child. You are not fighting a UFC debut. You're fighting a guy who's actually fought in the UFC, and they're putting this man at plus 1,000, meaning you bet $10 on him, you're going to win 100. I don't know. Any of you guys ever, when I was a kid, we used to buy CDs. I don't know if you guys remember this, buying CDs or DVDs. Every Tuesday, new DVDs came out. And when I first joined the Army, I was 20 years old. I needed entertainment in my barracks room. I was tired of illegally downloading porn. And I wanted to go just watch quality movies, good movies. And I would go to the PX, and on Tuesdays, new DVDs would come out. And I would buy one for $20. I would just buy one every Tuesday. And I bought some terrible movies, but they were new releases, and we were just buying these DVDs. And then you would get a whole binder full of DVDs. A whole binder full. I'm talking, there'd be 4 on one page. You'd flip it, there'd be 4 on the next page. And you'd have multiple DVDs in one sleeve sometimes, especially like if it was a series or something. But you had all these DVD books. And then someone would come over to your room, your barracks room, and you'd go on a trip somewhere, maybe the hotel or something. You'd bring your DVDs with you, the whole book. And you just toss it to a dude, and he'd go through it, and he'd be like, oh, I'm going to watch that one. Hey, that one got any titties in it? Hey, what about that? I think I'm going to watch Fast and Furious 3. I'm like, go for it, bro. Bring it back when you're done. And you're just watching DVDs. My point is I bought $10, $20 worth of bad DVDs every week. Every week, I bought a terrible DVD. Something not worth watching. It could be a movie called Stealth. I remember buying a movie called, I don't even know, bro. They were so bad. You just buy them because of what was on the cover and shit. You'd be like, oh, look, man, there's Jessica Biel. You just be grabbing shit and be like, hey, I think this one might be all right. And then you'd be watching and be like, oh, this shit sucks. You'd be like, man, I bought the wrong movie. I just wasted $20 on a terrible DVD. Now, whether the DVD was good or bad, I have 0 DVDs today, and I don't know what ever happened to those binders. So in the grand scheme of things, I learned that I probably spent $4,000 to $8,000 on those DVDs, and it was all wasted money, impulse shopping. And that's kind of what drove me as an adult to no longer be an impulse shopper. I don't buy anything. I don't even play video games that cost money. I will not pay for anything. Everything's free. All my hobbies are free. I don't do anything that costs money. I just don't. And now I'm wealthy. But I can remember for years spending money on things that just didn't make money for you, right? So for years I could make money on I could spend money on just random crap. Shoes. How many pairs of shoes do you have? Well, I don't know. Now I got like 3 pairs. I used to have 10. And I know there's sneakerheads out there. You can resell them. No. My point is, bro, if you throw money at dumb shit all day long, throw $20 at Cody Brundage. Throw $20 at Cody Brundage, bro. Believe in this dude, man. It's a plus 1,000. That's so disrespectful. Put some money on the man. Now, is he going to get blown through? Is he going to get ran through? Yes. Cody Brundage's skill set, his claim to fame is wrestling. He cannot wrestle a Bo Nickal. He's going to get bulldozed. He's going to get manhandled. I actually watched Cody in one of his fights this week in preparation for this against Malkoon here. And Malkoon is an amazing wrestler out of Australia. And Malkoon actually gets disqualified for an elbow to the back of the head. He actually punched him in the back of the head, I'd say 20 times in the fight. But Malkoon's a great wrestler too. Malkoon was able to manhandle him. Malkoon was able to get through it. Before that, he was losing everything. So the only reason he's here is he's a sacrificial lamb for Bo Nickal. And they look amazing. He's going to run through this dude like a Mack truck. He's going to beat him up. Bo Nickal hits hard, does everything hard. It's like, it's going to be amazing. Right? So that's what it is. This guy's a sacrificial lamb. But he's still a human being. He's still a grown man. He's still a UFC fighter and has been in the UFC for quite some time now. He still has, I think, 9 UFC fights. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand it. I think it's disrespectful. Waste your $20 on a bad DVD. You can't bet on Bo Nickal. He's minus 3,500. You can't bet on that. There's no way to make money with Bo Nickal. Unless you're betting, what are you betting? Knockout? First round knockout? You might mess around and lose your money because it'll be a submission. Now you're just guessing. I think you can take the double. There's something called a double chance. Take his submission and his knockout. And maybe it's a minus 300 or something. I don't know. But there you go. There you have it. I'm going to go to the chat before I get to the next matchup. Let's go. Oh, don't mute him. I wanted to read it. Don't mute him. I wanted to read it. No, Kimber. So, Rico, do you think Pieta wins? That's coming up, bro. I'm not giving out any predictions. I'm just doing analysis of the fights. Little bro, who are you? Yeah, somebody came in here and told me, take down that video of Ragone. If you guys don't know, there's a freshman kid who sent me some money to do a review on his tape. I do high school film reviews on TikTok. And I look at high school film, and typically what it is it'll be a player looking for some type of exposure, looking for a recruiting opportunity. Rico, I need to get an offer. Nobody's recruiting me. Can you help me? And if they donate to the channel, I'll do a review on them, and then I'll help them get an offer. We just got an offer for a kid yesterday. I made a video on a kid 2 days ago. He just got his offer yesterday. Congratulations. He never had one before then. And he wrote to me directly on Twitter. And he's like, Rico, thank you so much. Your video got me an offer. And, you know, when the recruiter calls you and says, hey, just saw your video on Rico Knows, I'd like to extend an offer to you, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty cool. What I'll say, though, is sometimes people send me donations and the videos aren't very good. And the highlights don't look like highlights, they look like lowlights. Typically, what I can do is there's some options out there. Like somebody said, Rico, drop that video, like get rid of it, you know, whatever. See, delete that video on Ragone. Listen, what people don't understand, these are children here that are writing this. What people don't understand is if you take away the video and you send it in a DM and you say, hey man, please don't send me freshman film, because the young man sent me freshman film. I have to do that 1,000 times over because it's going to keep getting sent to me. When I can sit here, make a video, make content, it's content creation, and say, hey, by the way, don't do this again, guys. And now I can post it, and now 30,000 people can see it, and now we get that message propagated across the internet, and we don't have to see it. That's important, okay? What people need to understand is it's important that the message gets out there. Don't send Rico freshman film. Don't send me film if you're not being realistic about your athletic opportunities. That young man, I believe I said in the video, he will not make it to the second level, which is JV. And then I said, all right, all jokes aside, what that means is that was a joke. And when you do a joke in your content, that will drive people to write comments underneath it. I understand content creation. So when people come in here and say, delete that video, bro, the people, what they don't understand is they're giving me advice on how to be a content creator. You should never give advice to a content creator if you're not a content creator. You have no point of reference. This would be like me taking financial advice from somebody who's homeless, physical fitness advice from somebody who's overweight, marriage advice from somebody who's never been married, parenting advice from someone with no children. I wouldn't do that. I don't need to hear from you in that regard. So every single person who comes in here and says, hey, delete that video, they are wasting their breath because they're not content creators. They don't even understand the art of content creation. So I created content to ensure that player doesn't ever, or other people don't do with the same thing that person. Dare I say, I created an example out of someone. I made an example out of someone. You don't like it, don't watch the videos. Don't come in here and chastise me. I don't need it. Now you can get rid of everyone, and anyone talking negative, they get blocked. So let's just be clear. We're not going to put up with trolls, ever. It's just the way it goes. Thank you. Shout out to my moderators, but we're not going to deal with it. All right, back to the matchups. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Charles Oliveira, the #1 finisher in the UFC. Pause, right? He's a fluffer. No, he's the guy who goes out and finishes these fights. If you've ever looked at his career, Charles Oliveira has been a champion for a long time. Or at least he was, and then he lost his belt to Islam. But he's been fighting forever. But look at this man. All those fights were 5-round fights. None of them went to the 4th and 5th round. He don't go the distance. He gets it done. He either knocks you out, submits you, or he gets knocked out or submitted. That's the end result here. We don't go to decision. He's been to decision 3 times that I can remember. Tony Ferguson, Jeremy Stevens, and Frankie Edgar. I don't know any of these other ones. I've never seen it. Yeah, 3 times. That's it. In his whole life. The man's been fighting since 2008. He's been in decision 3 times. Do not bet on this fight going to decision. That's a terrible idea. So he's either going to win it or he's going to lose it. But we're not going to decision. We don't get there. He puts too much gas on it, bro. He goes too hard. Now, lately, Charles Oliveira has been getting his ass whooped physically and then finding a way to win. Okay? That's what happened in all these fights. Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler. Getting his ass whooped and found a way to win. The luck finally ran out. By the way, Aljamain Sterling, similar concept. Just lucky in some of his wins, not huge wins, just kind of in the moment there, okay? So there's that. Yes, he knocked out Beneil Dariush, but who hasn't? Because so did Arman. And Arman's knockout was a Muay Thai knee, a strike, knockout, cool. First round, got it. Oliveira won in the first round as well. I would just tell you that the biggest reason Charles Oliveira is an underdog in this fight, and it's crazy to see him at a plus 175, a world-class fighter at 175 is nuts. That's insane. That's why he's the #1 dog value bet out there. But even though Oliveira is the #1 dog value bet out there, this line is not moving. This line is not moving because Arman Tsarukyan is the blueprint for how you beat Charles Oliveira. We know it because there's Islam Makhachev there. Islam is one of these new age grapplers, wrestlers who are going to take you down, win the fight, and eventually tap you out. Arman's the same way. A wrestler from Armenia, but he's got that same Dagestani Russian template of I'm going to take you down. Arman does strike a little bit. Arman needs to be careful. He does not need to be striking with Charles Oliveira. Oliveira does get clipped, but he feels very good fighting on his back. I think Oliveira is going to be on his back in this fight, and Arman's going to get a takedown. And I don't know if Oliveira can get up from those takedowns. I just don't see it. What I will say is this Joaquin Silva fight here, this is a Brazilian fighter. It took Arman a long time to get that TKO, like a long time. And Joaquin Silva is no Charles Oliveira. The fact that you couldn't take him out with a large shot or a one-time, like I just wasn't impressed with beating on a guy like you're knocking on the door. I didn't like it, okay? Garbrandt lost. Gamrot's a wrestler. He goes out there and wrestles like crazy. That's not Oliveira. You don't want to, this guy's only lost to wrestlers. Remember, Arman Tsarukyan's whole claim to fame is he took his UFC debut on short notice against Islam and gave him a hell of a fight. And then from that point forward, everybody was impressed. And what has he done since then is winning. I remember he beat Oliver next, I think. And he's been winning, and it's cool. But just understand that Charles Oliveira is a world-class finisher, world-class striker. And I think he feels confident to go in there and finish the fight. But once again, he can't beat a wrestler. That's what it comes down to. You can't beat a wrestler. Can't beat a wrestler. Not these new age wrestlers. Not these new muscle-bound freaks. It's crazy, right? If you're not here to support the channel, please leave. We don't need you viewing. I'm trying to create my videos for my YouTube audience and my TikTok audience. I'm not here for you children. So you do it again. Well, actually, I don't need that. You'll be gone. You are gone. So it's pretty simple. Thanks for being here. Next fight. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway. Here's what I'm going to say. It's for the BMF belt. And the reason why that's significant is the BMF belt is a made-up belt. It's not even a real thing. And the BMF belt enables you to go 5 rounds. The BMF belt goes 5 rounds. So now we got a 5-round fight. When Dana White last night said at the press conference, I'm going to make these bonuses $300K One guy smiled bigger than all the rest. And it was Justin Gaethje, because he knows he's going to get the 300K. He knows he's one of them. The rest of you guys can figure this shit out. I'm here. I'm going to get that 300K. He started smiling and laughing like, yo, he can see it now. How many minivans can I buy? Like, Justin Gaethje's ready, bro. 300K is real. He's going to go scrap. Now, Max Holloway, they tell me he's a bad SOB. You guys don't know the deal. We'll talk about it. Justin Gaethje, a former PFL veteran or U.S. World Series of Fighting veteran, moves over to the UFC and just starts punching everyone. This man has a kick. He does a low kick. He has a kick here and there. Does a high kick. He's got kicks, but he's really got punches. And he will just strike with the best of them. That fight with Michael Chandler's must-see TV. The fights with Dustin Poirier, must-see TV. He's just a man amongst boys. Justin Gaethje, if you're in a bar fight or you're going to a bar and you know something's going down, you want Justin Gaethje to have your back. You really do. That guy has got a chin from hell, and he's going to throw all day. Now, can he go 5 rounds? I think so. I think it'll be amazing. He can go 5 rounds, but I also don't know if he has to go 5 rounds. Because Max Holloway is moving up from 145 to 155, and the last time Max Holloway moved up from 155, he lost to Dustin Poirier. The last time I saw him move up to 155 was right here, when I saw him fight a real fighter. Right? He was the champ. He wanted to be a double champ, blah, blah, blah. It didn't work out for him. He lost to Dustin Poirier, and Poirier put it on him in the first round and never stopped. I think Poirier won 4 out of the 5 rounds. He won the fight 49-46 on most of the cards. I think all 3 of the cards. So Dustin Poirier is a great fighter. Justin Gaethje hits harder than Dustin Poirier. He really does. And this man doesn't put a fear into anyone when he strikes. Yes, he'll touch you up all day. You can go look at the numbers. You go see what he did in some of these fights. How bad did he TKO the zombie? It's all good. But this man has brain damage, bro. This man has brain damage. A lot of people are picking Holloway in this fight. They believe that he will use his gas pedal, his cardio as a weapon, and win rounds 4 and 5. All he has to do is win one of the first 3 rounds. I'm telling you, I think Holloway's going to lose around 10-8. Like, I think he's going to lose around 10-8 because I think he's going to get caught at some point in a fire exchange with Justin Gaethje, because that's all you can do is fire exchange with him. And, 10-8's going to happen. So if Gaethje doesn't knock him out, I think Gaethje gets a 10-8 round at some point. Can Max Holloway win the fight? More power to you. He's a plus 135. I don't think it's a huge payout for Holloway, but people are on it. Whatever. Next fight, Zhang Weili versus Zion. I just call her Yan, bro. I don't know the rest. What I'm going to tell you guys is Zhang Weili here is the most complete fighter on this card, man or woman. Zhang Weili is a monster. She's a minus 525 favorite, and rightfully so. She's a much better fighter than Bo Nickal. She's a much better bet than Bo Nickal. If you wanted to go put $20,000 on Zhang Weili, I think that's a lot more sensible than putting $20,000 on Bo Nickal. $20,000, what does that come out to? You got to put $500 to win $1,000, so every $1,000 you're winning $200, so you're winning $2,000. Yeah, sounds about right. $20,000 for $2,000. You're getting 10% of your money. I'm cool with it. Essentially, you want to make an easy $2,000, go for it. That's how that's done. I believe in Zhang Weili. I think that she's a monster on the feet, getting takedowns. No takedown threat over here. Yan can strike, though. She's not a scrub. She can punch, but she has no chin. And I think we're going to find out real quick that there's levels to this. There's no reason for this fight to be the co-main event. It's 2 Chinese fighters. I think they just wanted to get UFC 300 to have global interest, but there's no way that this should even be a title fight. Yan is just the leftover fighter of somebody to pick. Look, man, all you need to do is go back and watch her fight Carla Esparza. This little cookie monster has no knockout power. Carla Esparza is not a vicious striker, and Carla Esparza TKO'd her. That's it. We don't need to talk anymore. She lost to Marina Rodriguez, who, by the way, is on the early prelim card of this fight, card. You're the co-main event. You lost to somebody on the early prelims. What are we doing? She don't belong up there. Yeah, she beat Mackenzie Dern, but even then, 5 rounds, and Mackenzie was putting in some work. And it's nice to watch. There's Mackenzie right there putting in work on her back. Mackenzie's always been known to put in work on her back, bent over, whatever she's doing, she's great. But I'm just not a big believer in Jan. I'm not. I don't like Team Alpha Male coaches. I don't think they're the best. So probably your best bet taking Weili that whole card. I regret nothing. And I don't like giving recommendations and picks. But now we're at the main event. And we got Alex Pereira against Jamal Hill. Everybody's concerned with Jamal Hill is he just tore his ACL. He's been recovering. Is he in shape? I've tried to watch all the embedded videos. I tried to look at his Instagram. I've tried to see how in shape is he. And it's hard to make an assessment. Usually when I see him, he's doing light sparring, riding a bike, in a sweatsuit, cutting weight. Yes, he always looks pudgy. Leave him alone, bro. It don't matter. He strikes like a monster. He's got real striking power, 6'4", 205, and knows what he's doing with it. And Alex Pereira is not a 205 fighter. He's a 185 guy moving up to 205. He's naturally not a 205. They say he's huge. He's 6'4". He's that thing. But I see a chin made of styrofoam. Like I see a fake-ass chin. I think he can be touched. Now, he has a great low kick. Great low kick on that lead leg. He's got a great calf kick. He's got great striking. It is very dangerous. This fight will not go the distance. They're going to touch each other up. One thing I want you guys to do is go study Alex Pereira. Go back and watch his fights. Don't just be surprised by the champ and all this stuff. No, go back and watch his fights. And I want you to watch the jab. Watch the jab split his defense. Like he's just awkward, bro. It's not innate for him to block a jab. Let me explain that again. Some people innately, meaning you were born with this trait. Innate means you were born with the skill. It is not in his skill set, in his DNA, to block a jab or avoid it. He keeps his head on the center line, and he can be hit. He doesn't get his head off center line. So his hands actually break when a jab's coming. He doesn't know how to react to it. It's kind of like if you ever saw, man, I hate to say this, but if you ever saw a girl getting hit in the UFC, they look the part, they're looking sharp, they're showing you all their muscle memory and all their combos, shadow boxing in the locker room, they're doing all this. Then they get in the cage, and they get hit one time by a jab. It's like hitting that old school Nintendo reset button, you know, with the spring behind, like, boom, it pushes back at you. That jab hits the reset button, and then their whole game plan goes out the window. They start reacting weird. They start doing this. Oh, no. And that's how Alex Pereira defends himself sometimes when he's getting punched. If you ever really beaten down a fighter in the UFC and they want to protect themselves, they bring their hands to their head like this. They curl up in the fetal position because they're instinctively trying to protect their vital organs. That's why it's the fetal position. That's the way it is. It's why you have the rib cage the way you do. You're protecting your vital organs. This is why you have your shins. You put your shins up. They're protecting you. You bring your knees into your chest. You're using your shins and your elbows protecting you. Your forearms. It's all a part of the anatomy of the human. And I think in the anatomy of Alex Pereira is somebody who doesn't react well to being struck. Another example would be Brock Lesnar. Go back and watch Brock Lesnar get punched. He reacted so wrong. He didn't know how to handle striking. And I know Alex Pereira is a world-class kickboxer, and he's been getting struck his whole life and all this stuff. The jab, bro. The jab is a problem for him. Jamal Hill's jab is going to be problematic if he can get in distance within landing it. And then his right cross is the knockout button, right? It's the real deal. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited for these fights. Alex Pereira's obviously got a knockout button himself. He can knock anyone out with his strikes. Thank you guys for watching. Shout out to Willie Bobo. I just saw you in the chat. I appreciate you, bruh. Thank you for being here. To all the trolls, you guys, it doesn't matter. Like, I get paid, bro. My life is good. Yours sucks. Your friends don't know.